All right, welcome back, all of you. We also have a special guest today. Let me quickly introduce what we are trying to do. Again, the objective is to try and have a conversation with recruiters. The last conversation went fairly well. I think a lot of people tuned in, a lot of good suggestions. So here we are trying to recreate the magic, so to speak. And this time around, we also have Mansi with us, who's at, who's trying to um, play the role of a candidate and trying to ask a few questions to recruiters on how we think, what we do, uh, why we do what we do, and what are the how can we address some of the anxieties and challenges that candidates end up facing in the recruitment process. So yeah, before we get into the conversations, Mansi, would be great if you can quickly introduce yourself for us. I think we did, Afrin and myself, in the last conversation. Would be great if you can do it as well for yourself.
Yes, thanks so much for having me on this session. It's been really great to watch your previous session. I really enjoyed it and dropped comments. It was quite great. I myself learned quite a lot, even as a more experienced hire, and just understanding what goes on at the end of recruiters with this whole process. So, very briefly introducing myself, I'm currently employed as a business strategy consultant as part of Accenture's social impact consulting arm, and my sort of areas of expertise lie at the intersection of livelihoods and gender and inclusion. Majority of the work that I've done is to sort of promote youth livelihoods and help organizations to do the same. And as part of that, I've also been doing some pro bono volunteering work to just help unemployed young Indians sort of hold their own in the job market, let's say, and really navigate something that feels like a very isolating experience. So it's really great because here I get the opportunity to ask you the most frequently asked questions that I get from candidates as they struggle through this whole job market and face anxieties of whether or not they'll be able to land the job that they've been eyeing for quite some time. So yeah, it's really great. Looking forward to this chat.
All right,
Back
thanks.
to you, Akshay, Afreen,
Thanks.
to
Yeah, lovely
contextualize.
to have you over.
Great. So Mansi, you can get us started. I think, like I said, the background is that it is for anybody to ask us any questions on how we can be of better help. When I say we, I mean Afrin and myself, as let's say people with a background in recruitment who understand recruitment a little bit. How can we help anybody, either other recruiters or candidates, um, think through their application journey, think through their careers? Happy to spend that time either on this call or elsewhere as well. But for now, would be great to understand what you have in mind. Like, given your own background, like you said, you've held multiple different roles, you've done job search yourself, and also you have an insight into how people approach career switches and look like their application journeys. So from that point of view, what are some of the top um, challenges, let's say, people face typically that potentially that Afrin and I could, as recruiters, address?
Okay, I think the biggest challenge is one that nobody can do much about at an individual capacity. It's more a macroeconomic challenge where the demand for jobs far outweighs the supply of jobs. And this is becoming a worsening problem in India with population growth, with education and skills more advanced than ever before. And many young people still struggling on multiple fronts depending
That's
on their
right.
backgrounds. And
That's right.
here are some of these. Yeah, sorry.
No, no, I was just saying, carry on.
Yes, especially women who are entering the workforce or are re entering the workforce perhaps after a career break. Young people who don't have strong networks, sort of don't come from a brand name institution, and come from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds of any kind. And these are the sort of groups of people who are getting more left behind in their applications for jobs. And this is actually the group that I've been most trying to support and help. And they have like many common questions that they have in terms of frustrations from not receiving feedback from recruiters, frustrations in terms of applying for 50 plus positions, say in a given month, and not being able to advance to more, sort of final interview stages, or just getting there, but then sort of facing problems, navigating the final conversation that does get you hired. So yeah, there are a lot of challenges across this entire journey that young applicants face. And while recruiters definitely try their level best in the capacity that they can to support candidates as well as the business that they are supporting, this is just to sort of bridge the gap in a sense where candidates can get more of a purview into how recruiters look at certain challenges that they're facing, Akshay, like you said. So I think I'll start with the very first challenge in terms of a candidate looking for a particular role, right? And this is where, like, the very first point of challenge is just overcoming lack of confidence. If you, as a young person, do not sort of come from a brand name education, like a tier one college, or sort of come from a space where you don't have brand name experience, you've had perhaps a largely informal work experience background, or perhaps you've been managing family responsibilities and now want to transition to the formal workspace. The biggest question that I get asked here by candidates is what is the best way to sort of enhance a CV which may not feel strong enough compared to candidates who are, say, from IIMs, or just have really strong like educational backgrounds, or come from more advantaged backgrounds. So as recruiters, what would your advice be to both recruiters and candidates when it comes to assessing candidates who may have the skill set and the qualifications that are required to perform a job, but whose CVs may not necessarily be picked up during screening due to these disadvantages, actually. Yeah.
Arjun, you want to go first?
Actually, yeah, you can go first.
Okay. So, see, the way I think about it, of course, there is a disadvantage, right? But it boils down to what roles you're applying into. And the fundamentals, the macroeconomic fundamentals doesn't change. The number of jobs available far outweigh the number of people looking for jobs far outweighs the number of jobs. So we're not going to be able to do anything about that. But for the roles that you are applying into, that you are eligible for, it fundamentally depends on which role you're applying into and what kind of companies you're trying to get into, right? At some level, having that honest reflection with yourself and acknowledging the fact that and owning the fact that, hey, these are the realities of the way things work. Tomorrow, somebody who's like take myself for example, I don't have a bachelor's degree. So if I want to get into McKinsey or BCG, I can't be kidding myself and saying that, hey, why aren't they selecting me? So from that point of view, I understand everybody comes with their own privileges, backgrounds, disadvantages, and so on. But at least in the first couple of years of your journey, making sure that you have something to show for, because that is what it'll boil down to when I as a recruiter, if I'm looking at somebody with 5 years work experience, I'm more interested in what they've done as opposed to where they have studied, right? What that college degree can really help you, it is getting your foot through the door in your first job, first two jobs maybe, but post that it's all on you. So making sure that you have a quality of experience, a diversity of experience, a wealth of challenges that you have, problems that you have solved. As long as you have those under your belt in the first 5 years and not getting too anxious and uh, disheartened about the fact that you're not getting a call back from that one dream company that you've applied into. As long as you're able to just keep a level head in the first 5 years of a career, I think the answer is very different after that. If you're talking about young people who are starting out in their journeys, that's a very, again, unfortunately, the reality is what it is. It's just a matter of just landing any job that is remotely related to what you would like to do, and just sticking to it for the and doing everything that comes along with it. Just going sideways, picking up different projects internally, just making yourself available, flexible for those opportunities so that like I as a recruiter know that, hey, this person has a lot of breadth They might not be coming from a great college, but they seem to have kicked ass in
Yeah.
whatever they've done so far. So that's what I judge somebody on 5 years down the road. Daphne?
Yeah, I think I agree. Also on that, we generally, when the candidate is around 5+ years of experience, we are focused very much on the skill set. If somebody is coming and telling me that, because of this education, I am not able to crack this, my question is, what are the other activities that you've done? What are the other initiatives or efforts that you've made? And if you're able to, like, okay, in the start, if that is a struggle, um, in you can maybe start with a smaller organization. If not, bigger organizations have this caveat that it has to be from these X10 institution. Start from a smaller organization, build your skill set, complete 3 years, have stability in your career, and do additional courses, and then go and apply back. I'm sure that there is place. After 5 years, your skill set is very, very important.
Yeah,
Specialist, even like, as we come from a specialist skill set, it is easier to transition, because the more focus is on how good are you at that skill, how much,
Hmm.
for example, talent acquisition, how, what is the hiring that you've done, what industries have you hired from, what are the levels and senior junior levels that you've hired from. And in a generalist role, it is a little tricky, but as long as the jargons are different. If you're doing program
Hmm.
management, what scale you've managed the program here, and what scale will you be able to manage. It is just, if you're able to crack, and if you're able to prove your point that अच्छा मैंने ये किया है, छोटे स्केल पे किया है, but I've done it very efficiently, and I think I'm ready for this. I think it is possible to go
yeah.
through.
Things change at that
Yeah,
3 or 5 year mark.
initially that was the case, but I think now it's moved towards the skill set. Even startups and like people, young people coming in and doing their own things, they're more focused on what people can come and do rather than what they've studied. And
Yeah,
uh, yeah.
yeah. I'd
So
also
what I'm
quickly
hearing
draw
from
a
this,
distinction. Sorry, Manasi, I'll just quickly drawing a
yes, yes.
distinction between established scale organizations and startups, right? Startups don't
Hmm.
really worry too much about what background you come from. Of course, it helps. I'm not going to lie. But
Hmm.
uh, if you're able to show you have flexibility and resilience to get things done, that is valued a lot more in a startup environment as opposed to a brand name recognized organization that you might be trying to get into. So
Yeah.
don't also maybe over fixate on just one org or one type of organizations and be left disappointed at the end of it because you know in the back of your mind that somewhere these guys are looking for something else, right? But yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
sorry I cut you off.
No, no, I was just going to say that if I were to summarize this, basically you're saying what matters the most is openness to learning and building new skills. Storytelling, being a good storyteller in terms
Sure.
of by
But the stories also come from a real place, right? I think it
of
should
course
come from a
they
place
have to
of
come from
having to,
action.
yeah,
Hmm.
having done that before. And also just being honest with yourself, right? Hey, just recognize that you're not from that college or that from that
Yeah.
background. You're not
Yeah.
going to become a semiconductor engineer with a background in, I don't know, computer science. You need an electronics degree. So I'm
Hmm.
saying, yeah, sure, you can maybe train yourself into becoming one, but that is going to take time, and you should be willing to live with that fact. Um, that's
Yeah.
primarily it.
Also, one last point. We have two chances, I feel. One is bachelor's, one is master's. you
Hmm.
you you've, like,
Basically.
I've not able to gotten into a good institution that will help you crack. You work for a few years, that's what I did, and then there are candidates who then decide, prepare very rigorously and get into an institution that helps them in future, so that gives
Hmm.
you a brand credibility, that okay, I've done this. So maybe, is what I think, you have two chances.
Yeah, I completely agree, but I'd actually like to say you have so many chances. You just need to find the right person who
Yeah,
believes in
Yeah.
your ability, and who'll give you the opportunity to actually shine in your
Yeah.
professional or academic capacity. I think that matters so much. But yeah, this is really useful as insights in terms of what are key things for candidates to keep in mind. And I think the main thing is to not be discouraged, but just to be honest with yourself and keep in mind all the different tips that you two have shared. Thanks. Um, okay, so one, like we covered sort of how to position yourself for a particular opportunity if you feel like you may not be super competitive. The second sort of area that I feel like candidates struggle a lot with is figuring out where and how to apply. So like the whole how piece. Everyone really gives you different advice on this.
Yeah.
People sort of will propose a particular WhatsApp group, a particular Telegram group, will sort of say, hey, follow this person on LinkedIn, do cold outreach. Alumni networks is always what works, referrals is always what works. And really, industry to industry, this differs quite a lot. But the one thing that is common across industries is that many young people don't really come from a place of having very strong networks. Like you may not have the kind of networks within friends and family, for example, that you need to get referrals that perhaps your peers may have access to. And very similarly, like access to having like to alumni networks is sort of also quite gated and limited. So yeah, what would your advice be here? Like what sort of approach do you think is the most effective and successful in actually translating to jobs? And how can young candidates who sort of worry about not having a big enough network really learn how to tap into their existing network, or like figure a work around having like a weak network? Which channel do you find the most reliable when it comes to like a young person approaching a recruiter for a job? And again, like, we said for recruiters as well, like what are the channels through which you feel like you've been most approached, or the approach has translated best into a candidate actually being successful
Mhm.
in their position?
See, the answer is
Hmm.
very different, I feel. I don't know. Often might have a very different answer also. Like there's no real science to how you find a candidate, right? Um, you do your research, you do it on LinkedIn, Naukri, all these platforms. You also look for people in your own network, do all of that. So fundamentally, recruitment, rather, networking boils down to how visible are you, right, in the job market. Now, if that entails you being on LinkedIn, putting a thing, creating a profile on Naukri, talking to peers, seniors from your college, or maybe going attending industry events, talking to people over there, uh, putting out a blog, having a Twitter account. So every sector, every industry, every kind of job market has a certain space in which they like to chill out and talk to each other and, let's say, brainstorm ideas in. That is what fundamentally recruitment, rather networking, boils down to, right? And I understand that okay, if you're not from a certain college or from a certain social class or certain pedigree, you might not have access to those inherently. But if you're really wanting to build a career in a certain area, you would know inherently where these spaces are. Sometimes it's on Reddit or something like that. There's some platform somewhere that everybody is hanging out and talking to each other and helping each other out. Um, I think those are the places to start. And most of these platforms are not gate kept. And our LinkedIn account is free to create. A Reddit account is free to create. You can create an account on X, write your own blogs, whatever that medium is, right? Or maybe create YouTube videos like this, talking about what you like to do and put it out there, whatever it is, because all of these things eventually get noticed, right? A recruiter is not, we don't have necessarily a magic wand that every time a JD comes our way, we just know we can conjure up four names from the back of our heads. That doesn't work like that. We also go do our own research. Now, in the
Hmm.
process, if your name is the one that pops up first, it's very likely that we'll reach out to you uh, before than others. So, yeah, I mean, network not having it, yes, it is a handicap, but when you break it down, networking is just about visibility. Now, how do you get that visibility for yourself? Um, is there are many, there's multiple answers to that. Um, and but yeah, I'll let Afreen maybe build on that.
So I also wanted to talk about the first context. Sometimes when people start with their hiring journey, they want to look for a job, they go all out. They just like random. in their approach. That okay, hi, can you find a job for me? That's too much work for me. I can't find you a job. I have to like look through a lot in your profile to find you a job and then do so much work for you. I will not do that, right? Honestly. And
Hmm.
one is that, so you have to do a lot of homework for yourself. You cannot let your mental health go for a toss completely कि I am desperate now, अब मेरा क्या होगा मुझे नहीं पता, I need your help, I am struggling financially, I need your help. But you have to come with a full homework done, that okay, I am ready for this role, I think there is a role out here in this organization, can you help me refer, or I see this in your connection. Okay, that bit I will do, right? But I will not be parenting somebody and do find a job completely end to end. That's not how it works. Like I put it out like very clearly 100 times that I am looking for a job, can you help me find one, is never landing you a job. So there's a homework has to be done on candidates end a lot. Second,
Hmm.
if you want to, how do you do it? Like referrals and visibility. Yes, like Akshay said, if your name is popping up based on your visibility, yes, there is a tendency that recruiters will reach out to you. But personally, I also encourage and promote a lot of cold emailing.
Hmm.
That is how I have shifted my industry also. When I was at a point where I wanted to shift my sector but not the skill set, right? So I had written a lot of cold emails that helped me build those network and build that referral. And it will not happen initially, you have to be consistent. It's shooting in the dark initially, that dekhte hain, it's a wide fishing net, and you see what's working for you, what feedback are you getting. Okay, rejection aa raha hai, तो there is a reason. ऐसा
Hmm.
randomly people don't reject, there is a reason that okay, I don't like you, there is a reason that I am rejecting you. It's not because I don't want you as a candidate, ऐसा तो नहीं होता. I don't believe that they are not responding, there is a reason. And understanding that feedback and then refining your, if you've listed down that okay, this is my industry, two industries, and these are my 10 organizations. If I am not able to reach out to, or this is not working out in those 10 organizations, I need to understand
Hmm.
if it's a problem in my CV.
Hmm.
100% all the times that I've seen there is a problem in the CV, it is either the keywords that you're applying for the role and those keywords are not there. You're applying for that
Hmm.
industry and those keywords are not there. Job description में जो लिखा है, at least cover 7 keywords in your CV. And that is when, even if it's automated, it will catch your CV, and if it's even manual, we will type and we will search that okay, this is, if it's talent acquisition, I will write hiring, recruitment, talent acquisition, roles, everything that I will write. I will not leave a single keyword. कोई भी type करेगा तो it should pop up, right? So that is what I recommend. um, a lot of homework on candidates end.
Absolutely. I think
That's
also
very
the automatic thing
useful.
doesn't happen. There's a myth I need to break,
Hmm.
that it's not like a ATS, like the softwares that we use is automatically rejecting people. More often
Yeah,
than not,
it's
they're
not.
looking at it. It's just that,
Yeah.
like Afrin said, it's the CV makes no sense to us, at least for the role that
Hmm.
Yeah.
we're hiring for, right?
Hmm.
And I also understand the other point of view that they're giving sort of mixed signals that you have to try everything, but at the same time, we're saying do your own homework. Yes, both is true. Like if you're applying to 50 organizations, your CV can't be the same for all 50,
Hmm.
because all
Hmm.
50 are not looking for the same person or not looking for the same skill sets. You have to try and understand. I mean, again, this is a lot of work at your end, and I know that in the background of a lot of other life circumstances, you might be like, okay, what can I really do? But unfortunately, it has to be done. Nobody else will do it for you. So so yeah, I mean, having that homework done, maybe have a friend, a mentor that you can talk to, figure out what are you good at, getting an honest opinion from them and say that, do you really think I will fit into this job? And being okay with a no, and saying, okay, in that case, let me try something else. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what it will
Also,
fundamentally boil down to. Yes, Safin.
yeah, in the desperation, they forget to miss out on a lot of details. I feel there are people who don't write phone numbers also. And if it's a good candidate, I'm struggling. How do I call you? How do I reach out? I write emails. Emails is very lengthy process. How do I reach out? And then I
Hmm.
tell them, and then they realize, oh, sorry, I missed on writing the phone number. Sometimes it's not a 10 digit; it's a 9 digit phone number. I mean, like, okay, just like you have to be very, very careful. These are very, very basic and very frequent mistakes. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, okay, it's 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 so much on the candidate's end.
I understand. I think you're bang on. I think the number of people you end up rejecting for these formatting errors, for the fact that your LinkedIn is not linked to your thing. You put
Yeah,
LinkedIn there, but it's not linked. Your email is not correct. It's bouncing back. Your phone number is not accurate or it's not there at all. Um, Now the thing is, you might think it's just such a small mistake they're punishing me for, but you have to understand we're looking at 100 profiles in a day, right? Across
yeah,
multiple different roles. Now, for me to know whether you are good or not, the only opportunity you have, like your CV is your marketing material, right? If your
Yeah.
marketing material isn't good, I'm not going to buy that product. uh,
Hmm.
right? And that's a general consumer choice you make that if the product doesn't look good on paper, you're not going to spend your money on it. So for us, the amount of time we spend is the money, right? If I'm able to look at another profile between your profile and somebody else's profile, they have everything bang on. They're more easily accessible. They might not be as skilled as you are, but they're more easily accessible. I can talk to
yeah,
them. They're very responsive. It looks a lot more presentable on their CV. It's an easier bet for me to take that, oh, maybe this person actually has put a lot more thought into it, which means a lot more serious. There's a lot many more things I learned from just these small things as a recruiter, um, than what candidates might perceive. For candidate, it might just be like, hey, I've done these things, I've put my skills, they should know. But that's not how it
Hmm.
works, you know?
That's so
yeah,
important. Attention to detail. A critical thing that you get hired for. And if you don't have it, you just basically don't get through the door. Very, very important thing. And that's, I think, something that I've told 100% of the people that I have supported in their job hunt process. I think what you pointed out is also really useful, Afreen, on the whole, find me a job part. And I've had like people that, and this has been entirely pro bono, right? So friends of friends and people who I know through social media and things like that, really sort
yeah,
of reaching out to me and saying, okay, why don't you help me make my CV? Like, I'll pay you, make my CV for me, just do it, please. And the thing is that it's so much more important to sort of not like give people fish, but rather teach them how to fish. So
yeah,
like majority of the help that I have done is sort of helping candidates leverage Gen AI and make prompts that can help them improve their own application process. Sort of, yeah, use technology to edit and tailor your CVs, your cover letters, your answers, everything that you're doing. And it's true, like the process is quite isolating in terms of the sheer amount of homework that candidates have to go through to just enter this process altogether. And like you said, Akshay, with sometimes with very bad life circumstances. So yeah, like generally what I hear is people are anxious, people are overwhelmed, people are just very, very like they don't know when their next income is sort of going to come in. And that really is
yeah,
something that is really anxiety. But yeah, it's so much more important for candidates to have access to support systems so that
yeah,
they
Just on
don't
that
feel
note, I
entirely.
think that is the most critical thing, right? Support
Yeah,
systems. A recruiter or a company cannot be the support system. You need to figure that out
exactly.
yourself. This
Hmm.
conversation is branching out a little bit, but I would still say, um, find somebody in your life that is willing to invest that kind of time in you, and you are also, let's say, there is some symbiotic relationship where you're learning from them and so on.
Hmm.
That career mentor, some sort of a mentor,
yeah,
and the mentor can change at different points in your life, right? And that's okay. But having that person so that you can have an honest conversation with them and say, hey, I tried these things, it's not working. What do you think? And being
Yeah.
okay with whatever responses you're getting from them, because without which you will just be shooting in the dark forever and not getting any responses. You're applying to 100 different places, 100 different places. I've either not gotten back or rejected. And how do you problem solve for this? Because it's very difficult when it's yourself. And I've also been at the receiving end of being ghosted or being rejected.
yeah,
And it's fundamentally boils down to the fact that my profile didn't make sense to them, and that's okay. I need to be
Hmm.
okay with that. And there will always be some place
Yeah.
that does value your CV, but finding that place is again. It's going to be a lonely journey in this. There's no real answer.
Yeah.
My hot take on this is that some people just need career therapy. Like they need a career therapist. Is what I have seen this happen. Like, it's a whole area of like figuring out how you perceive yourself, how you perceive confidence, how you sort of go into a particular conversation, how you take rejection. There are so many different layers to it, and it simply does not get talked about enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, very valid points.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a few more minutes, Mansi, but it's been super, super good so far. I think before we get to the sort of closing stages, I'd like to quickly like summarize whatever we've discussed so far. It's largely been about a journey of introspection and trying to figure things out for yourself, right? I know it's not super useful coming from a recruiter to say, "Hey, go figure it out." But that being said, um, in an application journey, in your job search journey, more often than not, um, what really stands out in a recruiter's mind is how well a candidate has thought through their own journeys so far.
Hmm.
Now, if you're talking about, from our point of view, what the sort of uh, experience looks like, we look at a CV, we talk to them, and then they have to leave a lasting impression on us for us to have that conviction to say, hey, let's put this person through the evaluation process. I can put my personal, let's say, credibility at stake and stick a neck out for this person. And I'll only be able to do that if they have left an impression on me, right?
Hmm.
And often what leaves an impression on a recruiter who's again talking to hundreds of people every day is how clear an individual is in their thought process. And now that only comes from introspection, being very honest with yourself and saying that, hey, you know what, even if you've done badly at some point in your career and say that, hey, the last 2 years were a bit of a shit show. I wasn't at this place in my life, and not necessarily anchoring it to a negative thing, but saying that, hey, these are the things I've learned from it. These are the things I want to change. These are the things I did really well, and that's what I want to double down on. Having that articulation for yourself in terms of what it is that you're trying to do now and what you want to do into the future. As
Hmm.
long as it's clear, it's honest, there's no real answer. Like it's when I ask you the question, what do you want to do next? I don't have an answer in my mind. I'm just looking for authenticity, right? I'm looking
Hmm.
Yeah.
for when I'm double clicking on it, do you have an answer? And that only comes if you've actually thought about it yourself. And as long as you have
Hmm.
those things, the likelihood of you getting a call back or going down like getting further down the evaluation process is much higher. And you need to also understand as a recruiter, if I really like this person, there is an incentive for me to help them out in the evaluation process as well. Like I'm also
Hmm.
bound to sort of talk to
Yeah.
them and be like, hey, next call you're talking to this person, this is the kind of things he'll ask, or this is the kind of person you'll meet, and she values X, Y, and Z attributes. I can
Yeah.
also coach people, but you need to give me enough reasons to do that. Uh, and that reasons comes from knowing that okay, I'm talking to a person who's solid, stable. They're not gonna go do random things in the next conversation that'll blow back on me.
Hmm.
But yeah, final few thoughts, questions from a candidate's point of view, Mansi.
I think the other thing that you keep getting asked quite a lot, and for which there is no standardized guidance, is what kind of offer to accept, like very broadly. But it's basically that the more, I especially get this from like inexperienced women candidates, or from people who come from financially stressed backgrounds, who sort of feel pressured to take up the very first offer that they get, because they're like, hey, something in hand is better right now than. And they sort of have this approach of just leaping from opportunity to opportunity and not really having that long term career perspective, but basically just trying to make enough money to keep the ship floating. And that's something that I've struggled with a lot of candidates, where I've had to tell them, saying, hey, you know what, maybe you can do better than this offer. Like, this was just a warm up interview process perhaps for you. And yeah, it's about having, like, it's about understanding that balance between, do you negotiate for the pay that you think that you deserve, or the benefits that you think you deserve with your qualification, with your skill set, with just looking at the sort of funding that a particular organization has, or the profit it makes perhaps, So just from a recruiter's point of view, what does that look like? What how do you think candidates can best position themselves in that final conversation, or perhaps in terms of asking for a salary, whether or not they have a previous CTC to benchmark um, this from? Because this always comes in with, again, so much like people feel awkward having this conversation. They actually fully fear this conversation, and they want it to be properly scripted with, proper reasons saying, okay, why I'm asking for a particular sum of money and things like that. And then you also have like recruiters who are very open to negotiation versus not open to negotiation at all. So what's
Yeah.
that you can understand how to navigate this?
Do you want to take this? I have some long-winded thoughts, but
I am also thinking that one, that salary negotiation is very very important. I mean, you have to be very very prepared on what do you want to ask, why are you asking with that, with the rational,
correct.
is what I think. Initially during screening you will be asked what is your expectation, and if you are within the budget, then only we've moved you forward, and you cannot change it with a unreasonably high number, is what I have seen. So,
Mm.
and if you stated a number and you go slightly higher, considering the interaction that you have, that is understandable, that you have a bigger picture of the role, but you have to give a rational or valid reason as to why you are asking for that. And if you are asking for that, then you have to be very clear on what is your expectation,
Okay.
Sorry, dropped off. But yeah, you guys
if
was talking about having the bigger picture and having that justification for that higher comp. Um, Finish your thought after.
yes. Yeah, so just I think if you give like three very very strong reasons, I think that is enough to have your buy-in on why are you expecting this. One is that you, as it's not just only the reason, but also with how much conviction you've come. Like, I'm very very
Mm.
confident that I will be able to do this. I will be able to pull this off. That will show in how you present yourself, how you articulate that, how you sell yourself, and within that confidence, ऐसा लगेगा कि okay, if I don't have this candidate, I might be at a loss, right? If it's so
Mm.
much. And some candidates do give that what would I say, energy of
Yeah.
that confidence, that okay, he might be able to do it. And it's a deal breaker that if I don't get this, I don't think I might be the right job because I know my worth. ऐसा भी बोला है लोगों ने. So I think if you
Mm.
stand by yourself